What is the author's main purpose in writing this passage? A. To note that despite the fact the two lion cubs were not preserved equally well, they are still siblings. B. To suggest that the 15,000-year difference between the cave lion cubs affected the way they were preserved. C. To discuss the two cave lion cubs found frozen deep in the Siberian Arctic and how well they were preserved. Or D. To give an example of where radiocarbon dating can be used. Even before delving into our choices, we can see that some of them can be eliminated. For example, to note that despite the fact the two lion cubs were not preserved equally well, they are still siblings. Aside from not being our main idea, the text explicitly tells us that initially it was thought the two cubs were siblings, but a new study found that they differ in age by around 15,000 years. This can be marked as incorrect. And B, to suggest that the 15,000-year difference between the cave lion cubs affected the way they were preserved. While it's true that the text tells us that Sparta is probably the best preserved Ice Age animal ever found and that Boris is a bit more damaged, nowhere does the text tell us why this is. This can be marked as incorrect as well. We are left with choices C and D to discuss the two cave lion cubs found frozen deep in the Siberian Arctic and how well they were preserved, and to give an example of where radiocarbon dating can be used. When looking for a main idea, it's important to ask yourself, does every sentence in this paragraph either lead up to, mention, or expound upon this idea? Another helpful question is, what would the paragraph look like if this was the main idea? If D really was our main idea, the rest of the passage would expound upon what radiocarbon dating is, how it works, and more examples of it being used. As we see that it's only mentioned in passing to explain how the scientists knew how old these lion cubs are, we can understand that it's not the main idea of our passage. Choice C, on the other hand, we see being discussed throughout the passage. The first paragraph describes the lion cubs' preservation, the second expounds and gives us new details, and the third touches on the research being done. As every sentence connects in one way or another to this idea, we can mark choice C as our final answer.